So in this video, we're going to talk about writing action scenes. And I don't mean just action scenes. I mean action scenes that work. You know, these are the kind that make your reader really kind of lean in and they hold their breath, they forget to blink. And it's not the kind where you've described every single punch like you're choreographing a dance or something like that. See, what readers really care about and what makes action scenes work is that they're feeling the fight, they're feeling the tension, they're feeling the desperation and the pain. I just rewatched the Lord of the Rings trilogy and not going to go down the Tolkien rabbit hole, even though I could, but the action scenes in those movies, they're perfect. They don't feel forced. They don't feel like they were in any way fake. Obviously, it's a movie, right? But when you watch these action scenes, just like if you watch the action scenes in an Indiana Jones movie, they're very crunchy and you feel the desperation. But the only problem is that's a visual medium. And sometimes writers struggle with getting that onto the page without overly describing everything. Now, writing an action scene isn't about describing what happens. It's about showing them what happens and taking them into that fight. But before you throw the first punch, you have to ask one important question. What's at stake? So why does the fight matter? Are they fighting because it's the championship round? We're talking Cinderella Man style here. Um, is the fight worth fighting or is it a fight for fight's sake? Because you can tell the difference when they're being written. But if it's just noise, they're not going to care. You really have to think about what's on the line for this fight. If a bar brawl breaks out for no reason, that's awesome. And it serves to drive the plot forward. You might get a feel of how your character is in, hand to hand combat. But if he's protecting someone or, if it's going to cause the enemy to walk away with the ancient artifact that he's trying to keep out of the wrong hands, the tensity and the feeling of that fight is totally different, right? But think about this. Which one is the most intense? It's going to be obviously the one about the artifact. It's not going to be, oh, the barroom brawl broke out, unless the guy has a knife pulled on him and he's fighting for his life, or maybe he was ambushed. Like that, semi okay remake of Roadhouse. Epic fight scenes, and I can be critical of those in another video, but they could have been better. But here's the thing, if you want to write a good action scene, especially when we're talking about fights here, you don't want to spend a whole lot of time describing it. And I know you don't have the visual medium like you do, in a movie. And so it's kind of hard to figure out at first how this is going to work. But you want to set the scene as quick as possible. Right. And I'm not talking about 3 paragraphs of world building, 1 or 2 sharp sensory details that are going to ground the reader in your scene. So, what does the place feel like? What does it smell like? Is the floor slick? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is the air thick with dust? That's enough. And then you can get moving. So, here's an example: the floor is slick with ice. The enemy's shadow flickers in the torchlight. That's it. You're done. Go ahead and start throwing the first punch. But here's the important trick about writing fight scenes. You want to keep it sharp. See, fights are fast. Now, I know if you have an author like Lee Child and Jack Reacher, sometimes his fight scenes they get drawn out because Reacher kind of does this slow motion analytic Sherlock Holmes kind of breakdown of the fight. And Lee Child does a great job at walking you through that. but the tension never lets up. Now, not every fight scene has to be like that because honestly, not a lot of people are good at writing like that. But fights are fast, they're messy. I was a Golden Glove boxer probably way too late in life. And yes, those 2 minutes, they feel like an eternity, but it's happening so fast. You have to make sure that the tension is brought forth onto the page, right? And you do that with short sentences. You do that with fragments. You do that with a rhythm that kind of forces the reader into the chaos. So here's an example. He ducked, swing, miss, sand sprayed as he stumbled back. The knife kissed his sleeve. Too close. You see that? That's much different than he stepped forward with his left foot, and then he swung a wide arcing overhand right, missing his opponent by, okay, now you've lost me because you've really slowed down the fight. The fight has to be fast, right? Quick, hence, the readers are there, and that's how you build momentum. Now, look, again, nobody cares if the hero throws a left hook. They don't care if they throw a right hook. What they care about is pain, fear, impact. Yeah. So don't waste time describing every move like you're John Madden drawing, you know, lines all over the screen. You're just going to bog yourself down, but you need to understand that you want to write about the experience of the fight. A bad sentence is he threw a right hook, ducked, and then kicked the man in the stomach. Good one would be like his fist cracked against bone, sharp, jarring. The man reeled but came back fast. Cole barely ducked as the fist grazed his right temple. He lashed out, wild and desperate, sending them both crashing to the floor. You felt that. That's tension, right? The one you feel more is the one you want to put in your book, in your scene, because it's not about the mechanics of the fight. It's about the chaos of the fight. You know, the thing about great fight scenes is none of them ever really happen in a vacuum. You want to use the setting, right? So if you're in a crumbling ruin, you could have some of the stones in the floor kind of give way under the weight. Or when he crashes into the wall, the dust or shards of rock rain down on their head. If it's a tight alley, the walls are scraping against them. The environment isn't just scenery, it's part of the danger. It's another obstacle in the fight. So here's another example. The wall crumbled beneath his grip. His foot caught a loose stone and the enemy surged forward. No room, no time. Cole grabbed a loose stone and swung. It's tension, it's immersion. You can feel everything that's happening. And you also have to understand, and this gets overdone a lot, but your protagonist, your hero, he's not a superhero. Well, I mean, maybe he is, but those fights are boring unless the enemy is stronger or he's overwhelmed. So chances are your protagonist is not going to be a superhero. So that means he's not going to walk away from every fight with a wink and a witty one liner. You know, every punch needs to have weight. Every hit should matter. And if your hero gets slammed into the wall, he should feel that bruise for the next 3 chapters. Otherwise, there's no danger, there's no reality to it, and it's going to be really hard to get your readers pulled in. You know, punch landed, sharp and brutal. His ribs sang with pain. Every breath, a fresh new wound. He bit down, tasted blood. No room to fall, no room to stop. He pushed through the agony, fist swinging blind. That's not a fight. It's survival. And that's how it should feel. Right. And fights are messy and they're confusing, but you do still need to be clear. If your reader has to stop and try to figure out who's hitting who, you've lost them. So you want to focus on key moments and hits that matter, and the reactions that hurt. You don't want to be constantly his left fist, his right fist, or he hit him and then he hit him. You want to focus on the ones that make a difference or an impact on the fight. You don't want to write every swing, every block, just the moments that matter. So I think lastly, if you want to let your fight scene or your action scene land, you don't want to end the fight with he won the fight, obviously. You should end it with what it cost him. Did he lose something? Did someone die because he hesitated? Because that's how a fight would end. It ends with scars, it ends with bruises and broken teeth, uh, cauliflower ear. It ends with something that took something away from the people involved in the fight. So he stood there. Let's see. No, let's do this. He stood over the body, chest heaving, blood dripping from his knuckles. Not his, not this time. The tremor in his hand didn't care. He survived, but the way Evelyn looked at him told him that he'd lost something else. That's a consequence. That's a character growth. You know, it's it's not about writing what happens. It's writing what it feels like. You want to make your reader hold their breath. You want their pulse to go up, and you want to make them just want to keep turning those pages. They have to feel every hit. They have to feel every moment and every consequence. That's how you write an action scene or a fight scene that sticks, that hurts, that matters. Now, if you want to see how I put this into practice, you can check out the link in the channel description. Um, I've got 3 out right now on Amazon, my Cole Harper adventure series. It's that old school gritty pulp guy with a smart mouth, punching Nazis, punching communists. You know, it's adventure. It's fun. And that's what I like to write. So if you want to get an idea of how I write those fight scenes, you can check them out. They're on Amazon, both in paperback, both in Kindle. Now, if you want more videos like this, let me know in the comments. If you have more questions, let me know. I might try to do a couple of videos where I take some of the most commonly asked questions that show up in the comments on these videos, and then I'll try to turn around and best answer I can without going too deep in the weeds, because this is YouTube. You guys want to watch a video. You don't want a college lecture. Maybe you do. I don't know. But I would make a terrible teacher because I don't have patience. But anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you like this video, click like. If you want to see more, click subscribe. And I guess go out there and write something that leaves a mark.